Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Chris Barker. I am the Results Product Manager Trainer. Thanks for joining. This is my second learning series for 2021. They're designed, for those that first time here, they're designed to be quick, to the point, and give you what you need to really maximize the use of results. Today we're going to talk about, it's a new year. It's time to take a look at what you have loaded in results and, do you need to refresh, restructure, archive? So let's take it away here, and I'm going to advance my slides. Okay, so there's picture me. If I have you all muted now, but later on I might turn on camera if you have a question. I have my teammate Aaron Howard in the background. He's monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, just please, send them in, and he'll interrupt me and we can take care of it there. If we run out of time, you can email me, and my email's in there, and I'll answer you. And also too, if you're in the product and we have the Milo online bot in the bottom corner, you can reach out to me there as well. Aaron, do you want to say hello so everyone can hear your voice?
Indeed. Thank you, Chris. So good afternoon, presumably, for everybody. And thank you for joining. And I'll be back in the background looking for your questions if they arise. And back to you, Chris.
Okay. So just to kind of have some fun here, I pulled a couple quotes here, right? It's all about data, right? What is the purpose of data? The goal is to turn data into information and information into insights. So the question I want you, as we kind of get going here and get our energy and get greased up here to get to work, is really to think about where you are with that, right? Where your metrics are. Are you there yet? Okay. And then the next slide, if I can, purpose. There we go. The next one, okay. Every day, 3 times per second, we produce the equivalent of the amount of data that is in the Library of Congress, has an entire print collection, right? But most of it's like cat videos on YouTube, or 13-year-olds exchanging text messages about the next Twilight movie. Obviously, this is a little old, so I'm sure that's not the movie they're texting about, but I know my kids all are watching cat videos on YouTube and TikTok and things of that. So think about it, right? There's so much data at your fingertips, right? But what is the purpose of it, and where are you with it? And then my final quote for you to think about, right, is thinking about that, right? We need to practice. We should teach the students as well as the executives how to conduct experiments, how to examine data, how to use the tools to make better decisions. So you're all here, probably many of you are admins or power users in results, and you're helping your managers, your senior leaders to use data, right? And maybe they weren't math majors in college and didn't like math in high school, right? And these things are not comfortable for them, right? Making it okay to experiment, because we can easily make changes and refresh, right, our metrics and our maps and results. It's very easy to do, and I'm going to walk you through that. So as we get started, okay, before you start making all those changes in results, okay, you need to do some prep work. Okay, so before you jump in and make changes, some refresh questions I want you to ask yourselves as well as your teams that you serve. Okay, we're looking at your metrics. Do you have a bunch of metrics that are still in black, meaning that you're not actively reporting on them? Okay, are they stagnant? What metrics have quality data? Okay, because if there's not that quality data behind it, right, should you retire that metric? Okay, and then for the metrics that really have data, are you asking your teams, right, are they really getting meaning out of those metrics, right? So checking in with the folks that are using the metrics, right, and making it comfortable for them to be candor about, the value of it. Okay, but then, right, if they say no to those questions, they don't have quality data, they're not really getting meaning out of it, well, how do you make a shift? Okay, so what we would say at Mass Ingenuity is that, what do your customers care about? Right, that's what you should be measuring. Okay, what is the core work in support of your organization's missions? That's what you should be measuring, right? What are the lagging and leading indicators related to those things, right? And helping your teams refresh and realign to those things, not just what's easy to collect necessarily or what you have a lot of data on, right? Those cat videos, right? What do your customers care about? So after you do that prep, you're ready to go into results. Okay, so let's go and take a look. We have a lot of functionality in results for you admins and power users and measure owners to really kind of get current with your measures. For those that some of you may know, we have the function inactive versus active. Okay, and you can make you can use that for map, processes, measures. I'm going to walk you through that. If you just need to restructure, so maybe your team no longer does a key body of work and those process measures are moving over to a different part of your organization, you can easily move chunks of measures over to a different map in results. Okay, I'm going to also show you how easy it is to understand what elements in results are active versus inactive. We have an indicator that I'll walk you through. And there's also an easy way to say, well, you know, have we ever measured it? Maybe I already measured this and it's, you know, we turned it off. So there's an easy way to search for inactive measures. So I'm going to show you that. Okay, and I just wanted to document it in this slide deck so that if you had it later on, it's a nice reference. Okay, so some other things about inactive and active that I want you to understand. Okay, once you turn things off, so if you have an inactive map and inactive measures, okay, they no longer show to the general results user. So if I had a map, say I had a call center, okay, we had a map that's all about call centers, but we no longer do that. And I'm going to inactivate it. Okay, anyone that's logging in will not see it, but I would see it on the admin screen. Okay, I'm going to show you that search for inactive, and that's using the top level search by doing #inactive. Okay, and don't worry, if you turn something off, you make it inactive, you can turn it back on. But if I'm a measure owner and I turn it off, I no longer have access to it. Okay, only if I'm an admin and power user permission. Okay, and no worries, the inactive measures, they stay in your database. You're not losing the information, you're just making it not visible to all your results users. And a couple other best practices, just so you know, if you have a measure that's in a custom group, like you had a group related to timeliness, and you turn it off and you make it inactive, it gets removed from that group. And I'm going to show you that. If you have a measure that's tagged to a project, like a project that's a strategic initiative, it will stay, that relationship will stay, but you cannot open the measure, okay? Because it's kind of like frozen in time, and I'll show you that as well, okay? And you can also turn off inactive processes, and they would no longer show on that when you go to look at all your process measures. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to results now, and I'm going to walk you through some things that we talked about. Okay, make sure my screen is showing. Okay, so I'm in results here. Okay, I'm going to show you first. I'm going to go to admin, manage maps. Okay, so when I'm on this page, you'll notice here that I have my sales map here. Okay, and you'll see that it has a symbol that says inactive map. Okay, so I see that on my admin page. And when I go to home and I go to all maps, that sales map does not show here. So that's what I mean. When you turn something off and make it inactive, it's not visible to all the results users. Okay, now if I turn off measures, okay, that same symbol will exist. So if I go to top line and I go #inactive, okay, but I want to find all my inactive measures, I can find them. So when I do that search, okay, you'll see here that I have 3 tabs. So I can take a look at all the measures that I have turned off, okay, and what maps they belong to. Okay, so they still exist in the database. If I go ahead as a user and you think, well, let's see, admin, I'm the admin, I'm logged in as admin, I'm going to click on it, okay? It doesn't give me access to the information. It gives me a message that this measure is inactive and to basically see admin, okay? Now, if I wanted to, if I go back under admin, all right, and go under manage maps, I can then flip it back to active, and all that data that was in the database is still there. It's just frozen in time. Okay, so let's talk about, those are how you kind of find and navigate the inactive, what's inactive, but let's talk about how you do that. Okay, I have created this training map here, training 127, okay, and I no longer need this map. I'm going to go into edit, okay, and I scroll down to the middle of the page and I have the status here. And you have this same field on maps, processes, and measures. Okay. So when I go ahead and flip it to inactive, okay, I'm actually going to get a message, I'll show you here, then it's not going to let me do that. Okay. And I'm going to, basically, we're trying to help make sure you understand what the consequence is that I have some process measures here, and it's not going to let me turn off my map in a sense until I designate all those measures. I either move them off that map or I make those measures inactive. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that first. Okay, so when I go down to processes, okay, I have my, I think it said I had some, you'll see here, oops, I have an outcome measure that I already have turned inactive. But let's do the same under processes. Okay, so if I go under edit and I see, oh, do I have any measures here? Okay, I do. I have one under hiring time, so I'm going to do the same thing and flip this to inactive and hit save. Okay, so now when I go back, let's just take a look at my screen. I have the symbol here. So I can go back into edit and change my mind and make it active. Okay, now I want to show you one thing that I want to point out is, whoop, actually I'm going to do the other process because I had under managing call center. Let's pretend that this map, they retired their call center. They're no longer going to do it, so obviously they don't need to measure anything on there. So first I can actually shut down not just the measures, but this whole core body of work. So I'm going to go into edit. I'm going to do the same thing. Here's that metric, call time volume. Okay, and I'm going to hit edit. And I'm going to make it inactive. And I hit save. Now I could stop there, but let me point out something is that when I go, if I go to all maps, I think about if I'm not going to turn the whole map off, maybe I'm just going to turn that one process off. And when I go over and look at all my processes, that process is still going to show. Okay, it shows that I don't have any metrics, but I don't even want that to show as a core piece of the work that we do. I want to actually turn off not only the process measures related, but the process. So I'm going to go back to admin, manage maps, okay, go into edit, okay, and go down to here to call center. And here's the process. So down below was the process measures, up on top is the actual process of managing my call center operations. I'm going to go ahead and flip that to inactive as well. So I've turned off the process measures and the process. So if I go back to all maps and I go ahead and look at my processes for this map, only these two key bodies of work show. So just kind of get yourself organized on what needs to be visible and be out to all your results users and what you can retire. Again, you can always, don't overthink it, like you can always make a change. So I've actually turned off all the elements of this map. Okay, so if I went to manage maps, okay, and went into edit, okay, I will actually be able now to make it inactive. I hit save. Oh, there's one thing. It's going to say, are you sure you want to change this map to inactive? It's finished with an unfinished project. So my strategic initiative 6. I'm going to actually say yes. I'm going to turn it off. Okay, and then I'm going to go and show you what it looks like in the projects. Okay, so now my map, my whole area is turned off here, not visible when I go to all maps. I'll just validate that for you. No longer shows on my all map screen. But it was related to that project, right? And when I was in my opening, I said, well, if a measure is turned off, but it's related to a project, okay, it still maintains that relationship. So now when I come here, I can actually see that I have these 3 inactive projects. And you might ask, well, you know, could you explain kind of the backstory, like why are we keeping that relationship? Well, when there's work that is completed, so if I go to projects, right, and I have a whole list of completed projects, right, there were related measures to it. The project's completed, especially if it's like a process improvement lean event. So you are tracking some metrics related to a strategic initiative or process improvement, right? You probably only need, when you finish the work, there's a chance that you could turn off the metric, right? So we want to really keep that whole body of work together to tell the whole story. We were working on this process improvement. This was the related metric, right? And I can dig into the database if I need to learn more, but it retains it and it gives me that visual indicator that it's been turned off.
Chris, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, please.
We had a question. I'll share the question with you. The question is, do power users see inactive maps or measures?
Okay, great question. So for power users, so let me just back up and refresh for those that maybe don't know, is that we have 3 levels of permissions. We have admins, power users, and users. A power user is like a junior admin, is the way I like to describe it. They are assigned admins, they are assigned admin rights towards a specific map. So instead of admin, if I was logged in as a power user, so let's just walk with me, under the manage map, it would actually list the map. So if your map got turned off, you would see an indicator. So you would, as the power user, you still have access to the map that you are assigned to. So if it got turned off, you could turn it back on and make changes. You would not be able as a power user to make any changes to any of the other maps. Okay. And any follow-up questions to that? If I need to further clarify, please let me know. Okay. Thanks. Great question, by the way. The other thing related to it, and let me just say, it goes along with the whole permission. So if I, as a measure owner, right? So when I go to my data and I go into edit my measures, right? If I go edit measure, okay. If I turn this measure off, say I'm not an admin, say it shows Chris Barker here instead of admin, and I reassign it to someone else, okay, and I save it, right? It no longer shows on my data list here. So I can no longer, once I reassign it to someone else, or if I turn it off, right, I no longer have access to it as a measure owner. Okay, so that would be one thing also to be aware of, right? So a measure owner can edit it and turn it off, but then they lose the ability, only the admin can turn it, or the power user on that specific map can actually flip it back. Okay, so great question. All right, so we kind of covered, we covered turning maps off, processes, measures, and how to find it. Just a quick reminder, if you need to find what you turn off, again, do hashtag inactive, okay, and you get your list here, 15. Okay, so just a key reminder there. But let's talk about if you first want to restructure, so we've had a lot of clients, especially for our state clients, right? You get a new body of work, something, moves from one program to another program, so you need to move things around. So let's talk about the move function. So possibly, I go back to my maps, okay? I'm gonna go back to my DSV training one, and I'm actually gonna turn it back on, okay? And in this example, right, I'm gonna actually talk about my call center. So in my call center, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna turn that process back on. Is that possibly what's really happening here is that this area of the organization, we're just, it's being moved to a different part. So this, my DCBS January 27th map, that program will no longer handle the call center. Maybe the call center is going over to the IT map, okay? So what I really wanna do is if the whole body of work needs to move, I'm gonna first go to manage maps, okay, and let's see, oh, I thought I had an IT map here. I'm going to move it over to HR. So I'm going to go over and add a managing call center process over here. So I'm going to call this SP1 managing call center. Okay, so I have this process now set up in that map. I'm going to go back to my DCS map where that is currently managing the call center. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and go back to those process measures because I don't want to have to reset them up, right? I want to move the measure. I want to move all the data in one nice couple clicks. So I'm going to actually go find that measure. I'm going to hit the move button. Okay, I'm going to get the select destination and I'm going to expand this list, the menu here. Okay, I'm going to expand it. The call center is getting reassigned. The HR is going to manage them now. So I'm going to keep opening it up until I find the location that it needs to go to. Okay, so that measure is being moved over to HR, the call center process, and I click here. Okay, so it's no longer on there, so it's being moved. So I would now turn that process off. Okay, and go ahead and see there. Click there and hit save. And then it's moved over. So then I can go ahead and finish, if I've turned the process off, turn the map off, and just move that function. Now, one thing to call out, if you're moving process measures, you have to have the receiving process set up. Okay, so if I play that same example over, okay, if I wanted to, if I go back to, go to the HR, I'm gonna move that call center, they're just getting moved all over the place. Okay, so if I go find that process measure again, okay, maybe this time instead of HR, I'm gonna actually move it over to the DEQ map. They're actually going to be managing the call center. What I'm gonna find is, whoops, in the DEQ map, they don't have a process set up to receive them yet. Okay, I can move it over to be an outcome measure, but that's not really where I want it to be. I want it to be a process measure. So I first need to go to the DEQ map and set up that process before it shows. Okay, so when I look at the HR and I see core processes, right, and I keep expanding it, in the DEQ, there's nothing to receive it. So just a little tip there is thinking about where you're moving it, and think about it, is the new home ready to receive it? Okay, and you can set that up. All right, so the last thing I'm going to cover is go over, I'm going to take us back to slides and go to my next slide. Oops. Okay, I'm going to talk about the delete function because I'm sure you've all seen we have the edit function and we have the delete function. We have some safeguards in place so people don't do a whoops and then all of a sudden all their data is gone, okay? That you cannot delete a measure that has data, okay? So if you truly want to say, you know what, I just don't want to retire it and make it inactive, right? The advantage of that is that all that great work is recorded in the database. If you hit delete, it is not in your database anymore. Yes, we keep a, a copy, it's everything's backed up, but that's on our end, right? In the storage, right? It's not in your day-to-day database. Okay, so that's why we say go ahead and make things inactive. But there's occasional incidents that you think, really, I want to just delete it, right? So think about it this way. If an object has subordinate data to it, you have to delete the subordinate data. So if a measure has data, you have to delete the data before you can delete the measure. If your processes have measures, you need to delete the measures before you can delete the processes. And if a map has processes, measures, and I actually think even goals, those objects need to be deleted. So it's like we're making it a little bit more labor intensive for you to make it to delete, so that you don't kind of do a whoops and you hit delete and you didn't quite mean to. So let me show you. I'm going to go back to results. Okay, and I'm going to go over to my home button and I'm going to say, okay, time to close. So that's in my operational map, and I'm going to show you what I mean by here. So if I go to my operation, well, first, if I go here to delete, okay, it's gonna ask that if I want to delete it, okay, and I'm going to get this message, right? There's people attached to it, there's measures attached to it. Like, you cannot delete this until you kind of clear up all the relationships. Okay, that's good, right? We don't want to have accidental mistakes. But let's go find that one metric that I want to delete. Okay, so got a little blank screen there. There we go. Let's try that again. Edit. A little sticky point there. Okay, doesn't want to load for me. Back button here. Okay, let's go over to, I forgot I created the delete map here. Let's talk about my accounting measure. So if I hit delete, okay, I get that same message. Okay, this process is associated with sub-processes or measures. Okay, so, okay, good reminder. Okay, so now, here is that measure. Let's see if I can delete that. Okay, that measure didn't have any data, so it let me delete it. So now if I go back to my outcome metric, I believe this one does when I set this up. Oh, this is a goal. I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong piece there. I didn't go down far enough. There, revenue. Okay, so let's take a look at this metric. Okay, edit values. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a value in to show you. So this measure has data. So now, if I go in here and hit, if I go down to outcomes and hit delete, it says can't delete, this measure has values. So what you need to do is just one by one, go into edit values and hit delete. So if I delete this value, yes, okay, go back to that metric. Again, just to make sure that I can delete it, I hit yes. Okay, so that's some of the nuances. Again, we do that intentionally so that you don't have a whoops and then you delete things that you might need. Okay, and then my wrap slide is that we have in our help center, we have a couple great videos that are just quick and to the point. Again, reviewing inactive measures, moving measures, as long as obviously getting a copy of this recording. Any wrap-up questions, Aaron, from the group? We have a minute left.
Yes, I had a question, but it's a little bit on the long side and has to do with measure data not showing up. I'm going to send it to you offline and ask you to do it that way, because I think you'll need to see screens and stuff. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. No problem. You know, one thing on that one is that sometimes the data doesn't look visible, and I'm going to give you a little trick here, is that when we look at our data really quickly, okay, on the screen here, right, it filters by the year. So always make sure that you adjust your filter and hit search, and then your old, it basically it automatically filters by the current year. So try that trick out. I'll look for the email question and I will get back to you. Well, thanks for joining me, everyone, today, and hope you can join the next one. Our next one is set for, I believe, February 12th. Take care.